Hello everybody, and welcome to Deconstructed, where we take a look at an old yet hotly debated top 10 list and dissect it entry by entry. I'm your host, Matt Campbell, and today we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 Marvel movies. To my right, we have the beautiful panel. We have Kevin Guthrie, Matt Wendy, and Ashley Bowman. Gentlemen, let's suit up. All right, friends, so we're going to start off with the number 10 entry, which was Blade numero 2. I'm going to start off by reading a comment. Ghost914Z, his personal favorites are all the Blade movies. Did any of you guys fall in love with the sequel? What did you think?
That was probably written by Wesley Snipes. That's his username.
He just stays at his keyboard all
Yeah,
night,
he's like, no,
waiting
Blade
for
is the
Blade
best.
comments.
They were good, damn it.
Still the best Marvel movie. I think when this list was made, you could make an argument for Blade 2 because it is kind of a fun action horror movie. It's got kind of a cool cast. It's got Donnie Yen being a kung fu vampire. It's got Ron Perlman being a Ron Perlman vampire. But it is cheesy, like it's a given with any Blade movie. And I think now in 2016 there's just been so many great Marvel movies that have hit it out of the park. It's like it wouldn't even make it even anywhere close to the top 10.
The things I can say that are good about this film is probably the practical effects, but the CGI is just abysmal at this point. But for me, I personally judge each Blade movie on the presence of Triple H, and this one didn't have him in, so take it off. There's no point.
You could make an argument that Blade 2 is the best of the Blade movies, but that's still not saying all that much, so I don't even know if it would make an HM. We could probably squeeze it on there, but...
All right, so coming in at number 9 was The Incredible Hulk, and Purple Smasher says, The Incredible Hulk is on here? 4 question marks. What do you guys think? Should it have made the list?
Pre-Avengers, the Hulk on film got a lot of flack from a lot of different places. But I actually didn't hate this movie. I thought it was a half-decent adventure movie. I enjoyed watching it. I thought the favela chase was really well done. And, the campus brawl, for what it was, I thought was pretty decent.
I do think this is kind of a stain on the MCU right now. It's probably the weakest of the movies on there.
It was an improvement on Ang Lee's Hulk, but I think, it was largely forgettable.
I think if anything, this movie and the Avengers proves that Hulk is more, he's more suited for a plot element in movies rather than having a film surrounding him. I could be proved wrong. Someone could make a good Hulk film eventually, but
I think you can do it. You just need the right team. You need the right tone also.
I think he's a team player. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's where he's best.
Cool. All right, guys, so we smashed through that one. Let's go to the next one. So we've landed at our number 8 entry, Captain America, the First Avenger. Guys, discuss.
I think there's no denying that Winter Soldier is the better film here. But that said, I still think this one was really fun. It was a cool little action movie. But at the same time, there was one thing that bothered me. It kind of turned into kind of a montage film.
Montage.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree, yeah. The pacing was really uneven, and the second half really just kind of felt rushed, like they were just trying to get it out. And just to have Cap and the Avengers, that's really the only reason this movie exists.
It was like a good Avengers teaser trailer or something like that.
But the first act I really like, where we see, Steve struggling to be the person he wants to be, and then the second half, it was just, okay, just do it, just get it done.
Does it still deserve its spot on the list, or does its sequel kind of take over? What do you guys think? Where would you place it?
Well, I think even though it was completely overshadowed, I still think it was a good film, and I believe it could be on the list, maybe a 10 position or something like that, because it is fun. It's not a bad movie. It's in the universe. It's good.
I think if there's only one Captain America movie on the list, it's got to be Winter Soldier, so you got to take it off.
All right, so we've reached the hammer-wielding God of Thunder, Thor. Okay, guys, I'm going to prep you. This is one of the more in-depth, kind of profound comments we have. Mr. Warren Crabb, he says, Thor was ass.
I think you got to put a CL on that ass.
For class.
Thor was class.
Yeah.
I went to school.
See how that works?
I can spell.
I walked into this film with really low expectations. I don't know why, but Thor is inherently kind of a silly IP, I guess. But I was really surprised. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was a great film.
For me, the movie's kind of like fine wine. It actually gets better the more distance I get from it, which is not something I can say about a lot of the movies on this list. But this one, I really liked it.
Overall, a movie that could have been really cheesy, like I think probably most of the Marvel movies, but handled really well, directed well by Kenneth Branagh. I was trying to figure out how to say his name. and who basically before this did Shakespeare movies, and he really brought that kind of feel to this.
And that's why I love this film so much. I think it's actually my favorite of the MCU films because it's so Shakespearean, like you said, and Kenneth Branagh, like you mentioned, brought all this Shakespearean kind of energy into it, and just the themes and the story that goes with all of that, like family, betrayal, power. I just loved it for that reason, and I personally think it deserved its spot on the list. I probably would have even put it higher.
I could see it being higher, yeah. 5 or 6, definitely, yeah. Even considering all the movies that have come out.
Top five. Okay, so number 6 is X-Men First Class, and John S.J. Show says, X-Men First Class is my favorite movie. But then we have people who disagree, who say it is a very, very, very bad movie.
I actually really, really liked this movie. I was a big fan of the originals, and so seeing sort of the origin story, Magneto and Professor X meeting each other, coming together, forming the school, that obviously plays such a huge part in, not only the movies, but also the Marvel Universe as a whole, was great for me. And I love the way they wove it into history, with the Cuban Missile Crisis and everything, and looking at the X-Men finding their place in the world. I thought it was really great.
Actually, what you were saying about them building the school, that's kind of what I didn't like so much about it. I did think it was a good movie. It had a great cast. Michael Fassbender was great. Kevin Bacon was awesome as the villain. But I think there was so much of the movie that was just focusing on the continuity of tying it into the first X-Men movie. It seemed like so much of the energy was about, establishing, well, this is how that happened, and this is how this happened, and sort of pandering to the audience a little bit. But still, pretty good movie. I just wouldn't rate it as high as some other X-Men movies.
I love this movie. It's not my favorite X-Men movie, but I liked it better than Days of Future Past. I would try to get it on at 8, 9, 10.
Number 5 is Spider-Man, and I have a comment here from Mr. Blitzwing12. He says, Spider-Man better than X-Men First Class? Go home, Mojo. You're drunk.
Probably my favorite movie when I was like 12, but looking back at it now, it feels really, really cheesy. Especially, the fight scene where he takes on the bully at the very beginning. Like, I used to think that was the coolest thing ever, and now it just doesn't really hold up. So I would definitely put X-Men above this one, yeah.
But you have to remember that it was a different time. This was really cool back then. We didn't have anything better than this as well. And you have to consider as well that the theme song was by Nickelback, and that was considered really cool at the time as well.
Yeah, man, what a shift! What a shift in the zeitgeist that Nickelback was actually. It was a good idea to put that on a soundtrack.
We're kind of comparing them to the MCU films of today, and by all means, of course, they're cheesy in comparison. But I mean, is it kind of fair to compare them to them? I mean, I feel this is what made that movie work, no?
No, like, some of the cheese works for it, don't get me wrong. Like, the Green Goblin, yes, especially with his costume, super cheesy, but I really liked Willem Dafoe as Norman Osborn. And, some of the one-liners in it, they do work to its advantage, but I kind of feel that with so many MCU movies coming out, they've kind of shaped what our view of a superhero movie is, and this one doesn't really fit that mold super well.
But it did come out before, right? So
no, that's completely fair.
Does it deserve to be this high on the list, number 5? Does it drop lower now? Do we even bother considering the new Spider-Mans? I mean, number 5, yes or no, guys?
I think this trilogy is the definitive Spider-Man trilogy. I don't know if this is the definitive Spider-Man, so I could see it dropping significantly lower on the list, to be honest.
At number 4, we have X-Men 2, X-Men United, which sees Wolverine back in the lead role, which I'm sure some of you guys are excited about. So I'm going to read a comment here, and this is from Ashley Bradley. He says, X2 shouldn't even be on this list, shaking my head.
Well, I don't know who this Ashley Bradley fellow is, but I gotta say I really disagree with him. I mean, I really liked the first X-Men. I thought this one did everything just as well and then built on top of it.
As a kid, Wolverine was always my favorite character, and I felt like in this one they really came very close to getting Wolverine. The scene where they're being attacked in the X-Mansion, he's running around basically going berserker, was just, for a comic book fan, seeing that for the first time on screen, that was awesome.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I would say for this film is that it probably has the best opening scene of any Marvel movie I've seen.
Right.
Nightcrawler getting into the White House, stabbing down that knife right next to him, freedom for mutants. You're hype at that point anyway.
Yeah, it was great.
This is the highest ranked X-Men movie on this list. Today, is it still ranked that high? Is it the best one? Would you put another one? Is this the definitive X-Men movie? What do you guys think?
Yeah, for me, this definitely is on the list, and probably maybe a little lower, but very close to where it is now.
All right. So we're done with entry number 4. Let's jump ahead to number 3. Spider-Man 2, the second time we see him on this list, guys. I have a comment here from Saeed727. This list is bullshit. Spider-Man 2 is definitely the best ever superhero film Marvel has ever made.
You know, my complaints for the first one still stand for this one, but
Cheesy?
Yeah, it's got some cheese to it, but you know, I thought that one thing it did a lot better than the first one was really look at Peter Parker struggling with this dual identity.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that point. It is a really good character study. We get to see more of Spider-Man, and he finally gets his payoff at the end of the movie with Mary Jane. And then he's slinging around at the end, and you're like, you know what, Spider-Man? You may have these superpowers, but you're one of us, dude.
So is 3 okay in your opinion then, or?
3's fine. I mean, maybe with some of the new ones included,
Yeah.
Ant-Man, Guardians of the
there
Galaxy.
have been some really, really good Marvel movies coming out lately. So, you know, this one, I think 5 would be a good rank for it. I would knock it down a point or 2. And, you know, also, we had Spider-Man 1 at 5 and this at 3. I don't think they'd be that close together in a new list.
Definitely the best Spider-Man, so it's got to be on the list. Maybe down a point, but I think it's got to be on there.
All right, suiting up at number 2 is Iron Man. And I have a comment here from one Mr. Bubbly's AJ. I love how Iron Man is number 2 because it is my favorite movie. It's also Wendy's favorite movie. He walks pretty weird whenever he talks about RDJ, so.
It's my favorite Marvel movie, and I'm not gonna lie, I came this close to showing up today with the goatee and a little plastic chest piece.
This might sound dramatic, but I think if they didn't cast RDJ, and by the way, that's Robert Downey Jr. in case people can't figure it out. They're trying to
In case
figure
you're
out,
not familiar with
they're
the
trying to
biggest
figure out the
actor in the
letters.
world.
Yeah, I think if they didn't cast Robert Downey Jr., then not only this movie, but the entire MCU could potentially fall apart because this one really set the tone. They really captured the perfect tone here, which was, humor mixed with drama, mixed with emotions, but also kind of like a self-aware, fun vibe to it.
Does it deserve its number 2 spot? Should it be higher? Does it even take the number 1? What do you guys think?
I don't think it's good enough to take number 1. For me, it did a lot of things that I had never seen in a superhero movie before. It brought it to a global scale, which I thought was a big step forward, especially considering the other Marvel movies that have come out and upcoming Civil War. It's my personal favorite. I think number 2 is a really safe, comfortable spot for it, though.
Well, for me, I would say it's not the best Marvel movie by any means. It's a really good one. I won't take that away from it, but it's not the best Marvel movie.
All right, guys, we finally did it. We finally reached number 1, which is Marvel's The Avengers, the pièce de résistance. Nazi Natty HD says, I knew The Avengers would be number 1.
I think one of the things that contributed to this being number 1 on the list was the hype surrounding it. It was absolutely inescapable. Everyone knew that this movie was coming out. Everyone had seen the other movies before it. They'd seen Nick Fury appear at the end. They're like, when is this movie going to come out? And when it did, I think they killed it. I think they really did a good job.
I think the only flaw with Avengers is that the plot is actually kind of convoluted if you really look at it. But the thing is, the characters are so much fun, and the movie is so much fun that you don't even notice the plot. So I think it transcends that flaw. But really, it's the culmination of Phase 1 of the MCU. So and they just did it perfectly.
But speaking of characters, contained in this movie alone, we have no idea of their origin. Obviously, they had the prior movies to set this all up. But with that being said, is it a great movie because there is no origin story? Like, I kind of think you need that to be a great movie, but does it hurt it in any way?
I think actually you can't do an ensemble movie like this unless you have the origins in separate movies because you would just spend too much time with the origins. And I think this is a problem that a lot of superhero movies have. Like Spider-Man 3, they tried to cram in too many characters, too many origins, too much stuff. And I think the only way you can really do the Avengers is if you have separate movies and then you move into the Avengers, which is what Marvel Studios, ingeniously envisioned. So,
is it the number 1 Marvel film of all time? We put it at 1. Does it deserve to be there, or has so much time passed and more movies have come out that it doesn't? What do you guys think?
I would say it's not the best Marvel movie by any means, but it is the Marvel movie. It's the one that set the standard, and from there, everything else picked up.
Yeah, and kind of building on that, whether you love this movie or hate it, it is a trendsetter. After this movie came out, it suddenly wasn't cool anymore to just have one superhero in your movie. You needed 2 or 3, or you needed the team, you needed that dynamic aspect of it, and we can see that in all the movies that come out today. I mean, even in Ant-Man, Falcon had a pretty sizable cameo. So I think for that reason alone, I think number one's a great spot for it.
Yeah, we'll have to see with Civil War, if that tops it. But I think, as for right now, it's got to be number one just because of how important it is to the Marvel Universe and what it accomplished. Although that being said, it may not be my personal favorite Marvel movie.
That's a perfect note to switch into the lightning round. Okay, so quick, guys. What is your favorite Marvel movie?
For me, it's Guardians of the Galaxy. I would probably put that at number one if I was in charge of this list.
Iron Man 1's still my favorite. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think The Avengers is good at number 1, Iron Man at 2. I'd want to get Deadpool on there at 3.
For me, it's a toss-up between Deadpool, Guardians, and Avengers. It's kind of like, but I have to go actually with Guardians just because I had so much fun watching it. Like, it was just a great time and great soundtrack.
All right, everybody, thank you very much for your help. This list has been officially deconstructed. Make sure to go to our Suggest page to vote for the topics you want to see done next, and be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com for more entertaining top 10s. See you next time.